So something I can't help but really think about, especially lately, because there's so much rumor and conversation surrounding it. It really makes me think, as what I consider myself a hardcore gamer. What is the future of gaming really? And it's hard to really think about it and try to be realistic because none of us know. Even the people who are trying to charge into the future, the companies that are thinking about the future, even they don't know. It's really just this seesaw type thing we have going on here, where we have manufacturers and companies who think that they have a vision for the future, but in order for that vision to happen and become a reality, the market that they're trying to capture needs to be on board with it in order for it to be a success, thus making it the actual future that they envision. And thinking about cloud gaming, thinking about portable gaming, gaming on the go, we see the Nintendo Switch. We recently heard about the PlayStation Vita, how it's officially going to pretty much be dead, and they're ceasing production on it. And thinking about Microsoft with Project xCloud and Sony with PlayStation Now, I've seen so many people tell me, like, MBG, you don't know what the future is, man. You just can't accept the future. The future is going to be all digital, all streaming. That's how gaming's going to be, whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years, 15, whatever. And so the more you fight that, the more you're just fighting the future. And I don't know about that. I really don't know, because to me it doesn't feel like I'm fighting the future. It just feels like I'm fighting something I don't really care about that much and I don't want. And it makes me think that, like, I'm just not that the market that these companies, we think about Amazon, Google, Verizon, Microsoft, and probably some others that are trying to get into cloud gaming. And the reason why cloud gaming on a surface level sounds so appealing to the broader market, it's very simple. It's simply because it's the easiest way for people to access games and to give money to publishers and to platform holders. And there's just the less there is for barrier of entry, the better it is for these companies. But that doesn't always necessarily mean that the better it is for us, the gamers. And this is where, when I use the term hardcore gamer, I feel as a hardcore gamer that I'm just not the market, right? And it kind of freaks me out a little bit, because there's always kind of been this divide. And I don't mean to generalize here. I'm not trying to do that, but I think we can all agree there's always kind of been this divide between, like, what we call the hardcore gamer or the core gamer and the casual market. And I feel like the best way to visualize this divide is it's the difference between people who they consider themselves a gamer to the extent where, I pull out my phone and play some games on my phone, whatever, versus somebody who's gaming on a PC or has a console and is investing a ton of time and money into these, big AAA games. I feel like that's really the division between these two markets. And it makes me feel, when I think about cloud gaming, that any company that's pursuing it heavily, and I'm not just saying this just because it's Microsoft, because again, this is really like, it's not just Microsoft. I mean, absolute juggernauts are trying to get in on this. And you have to think, well, if companies like Amazon and Google are trying to suddenly really break into this market, why is it? Is it because, like, there really is the potential for huge success here? I'd say yeah, there is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of getting more people to play more games. And this is maybe a good thing, because it's like, well, this will be able to expose a lot of these big AAA games to a much wider market and all this stuff. But it just comes down to what will be considered the norm and what won't anymore. And for me, that's what matters, because I think about the way I like to play video games, and for me, I just like a simple, traditional, non-cumbersome, non-frustrating experience, which it can't always be that way no matter what happens, but I just want to buy a game, even if it is digitally, and I just want to play it and not be worried about anything else other than I have my controller, I got my nice big screen, I got my comfortable chair, and I'm just going to game, man, and I'm going to get immersed. That's what I care about. Like that to me, that's gaming to me. It's not gaming on my phone. It's not sitting at a desk. And I know for a lot of people, it is that, sitting at a desk, gaming on PC. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with however anybody wants to game. And I guess it's just like for me personally, the idea of cloud gaming in any way, shape, or form is just not what I want. And I know that just because I don't want it doesn't mean that there isn't a wider market out there that does want it. And I know that there's a lot of people who've really been like, man, MBG, you are a full-blown Sony pony PlayStation fanboy now, and it's not that. Like, you guys need to understand, like, it's really not that. I know I've been talking a lot about PlayStation lately, and it seems like I just made a massive 180 shift. But believe it or not, there is a genuine reason for that. And that's because I realized that, like, Xbox, and I really told myself I wasn't going to turn it into one of these videos, but it's going to happen anyway, inevitably. Xbox just, this isn't me hating on them at all. They just aren't capturing me anymore. Like, they just aren't doing the things that I care about. Just for me personally. And I'm finding that Sony pretty much is. And it makes me wonder what the future of Sony looks like, what the future of PlayStation looks like, because I feel like we kind of know at this point what Microsoft's intention and what their goal is. And their goal, and they've said it themselves many times, they want to capture that 2 billion gamer market on Android and iOS and PC. And the only way they can do that, they feel, is by having this combination of putting Xbox as a service on every device on top of xCloud. And I don't, like, people think that I have some kind of major problem with that, and maybe I do a little bit, where I don't want I mean, I know this may sound like primitive to a lot of people and just flat out dumb, but I can't help it. I don't want to see Xbox turn into a service. To me, just Xbox is more than that. It's not. It shouldn't just be a service. Like, I don't want Xbox to be the Netflix of gaming, because I don't know. Like, I know it's not a bad thing per se. Maybe it is, because if you're somebody who likes to own your stuff, if Microsoft is extremely successful in this endeavor, they will have every reason to not make hardware anymore, to not be a hardware manufacturer, to not, to be the first to stop, printing their games on discs for whatever reason. I'm not saying they will do this, but I don't want that. And I think about, like, PlayStation. I think, they have PlayStation Now, and to me, there's just a very clear divide here where Microsoft really, really wants to get away. Maybe I'm wording that wrong. I don't want to say they're trying to get away as much as they're just inadvertently pushing away the hardcore market in favor of trying to chase this wider, broader, more casual market that they believe will bring them a ton more money and a ton more success, which it could. Like, I'm not saying on a business level they're not smart for doing that. They are, and what they're doing could work out, but it's also very risky, because I don't know if Microsoft realizes this. I don't even know if they care, because they're still making money. It's just dependent upon who's giving them money and who's not. It's not necessarily just about the market, but for me, I almost feel like there's certain things that Microsoft is trying to push on me that I'm just not comfortable giving my money to, because I don't want to support that, because that's not what I want. But that doesn't mean that there aren't millions of other people out there who are going to do it anyway, who are going to feel that same way. And it just makes me feel like Xbox is getting away from me, and it just doesn't feel right for me anymore in the way that it used to, and that I want it to. And then when I look at PlayStation, they're doing things differently, where PlayStation, yeah, like, people tell me all the time, like, MBG, don't you understand that Sony, they want money too? Like, of course I understand that. At the end of the day, that's what this all comes down to. It's these companies trying to get our money and for us to give us our, that's all it is. They just want our money. They want our business. I'm not ignorant to that, but to me it feels like where Microsoft is choosing to go after this wider market it feels like it is truly at the expense of the hardcore market that they've established. Sony is doing the opposite, and Sony is they're not the ones out here, and they've said it themselves. They don't have the infrastructure in place to make to make the type of moves that Microsoft wants to make, or Amazon or Google, where using Microsoft with Project xCloud, they are a cloud company, so it just makes sense. I don't fault them for pursuing this. The only part where I get annoyed is it seems like they're pursuing this to the extent where they're banking on rather than trying to sell more consoles and get more consoles into homes and sell more hardware, they're banking more on the idea that, well, why worry about that when we can just have people subscribe to us and have people open an app on their phone and give us our money that way, regardless of whether they're streaming or not. To me, again, it just comes down to that doesn't capture me. And that feels like they're getting away from me, and as I've said it many times before, it's like we're taking a back seat, and I just don't like feeling like that because, again, maybe it's because I'm primitive, maybe it's because I'm tribalistic, and I this is just how things are, and I like my plastic box, and I'm part of the console war. I really don't care. It's just how I feel, where I don't want that traditional experience to take a back seat. That's all it is. I don't want the traditional experience to start fading away because there may be X amount of, millions of casual gamers who just don't care, and Microsoft starts making more money off of that than they are the hardcore gamer, and then suddenly it's just, well, what does the hardcore gamer mean to them anymore? Well, they're just an afterthought, and Sony's over here. Maybe it's a good thing that they don't have the infrastructure, because what that means is they're going to have to rely on what they've been relying on ever since PlayStation was created, which is powerful or decent or nice hardware, hardware that's powerful enough, awesome games, and come in and this is how we're gonna get you in our ecosystem. So here's the difference, I think, between Sony and Microsoft's intentions. Microsoft wants Xbox everywhere, all the time, period. They said themselves, every device. I feel like PlayStation's more focused on just being in the home, and maybe that's because they have to. I'm not saying that if Sony had the type of infrastructure that Microsoft had, that they wouldn't be pursuing this, but at the same time, I think Sony's the type of company where if they wanted to pursue this in a very serious manner, they certainly could, especially if they felt like their business was relying on it. But they are just not in that position. They've proven that, and this is where you have to look. If you remember at the beginning of the Xbox One's life cycle, who was it that came out and said they want to sell 200 million consoles? It wasn't Sony, it was Microsoft. That was Microsoft's goal. And they got the exact opposite of that. Instead, they got, the literal opposite. I mean, we're not talking about Wii U numbers, but we're not that far off either. So their goal was not even close to being achieved. And it just bothers me that Microsoft's, they think that that's the hardcore gamers' fault for not supporting them, and instead they're going to try to go after a different audience and find a different way to make money, when in reality it's like the reason it didn't work for you and the reason why you are not the one that has almost 100 million consoles sold right now, or why you just could not even get remotely close to that 200 million goal, because here's the thing, do you think Microsoft would be pursuing things the way they are right now if they actually sold Xbox Ones at the rate Sony is? No. Would they be pursuing it to an extent? Yeah, but it would be like an afterthought for them, because they would be like, we're the market leader. We're the market leader. We have almost 100 million Xbox One sold. We're not worried. We have the support of the hardcore gamer in the market that we went after. And the fact of the matter is this. The market that Microsoft tried to go after, they failed them. They didn't capture that market, and that's that's nobody's fault but their own for the mistakes that they've made. And rather than trying to correct those mistakes, they just decided, we're just going to take a different avenue. We're going to go down a different street. We're not even going to bother. And Sony, the reason why they're in the position they are in, and they don't have to really worry about cloud gaming, not now anyway. I'm not saying that Microsoft's Project X Cloud and what Amazon and Google are doing, it might be a huge success. And if it is, Sony will have no choice but to pay close attention to it. And that's why they have PlayStation Now set up, because they do have to be involved in this market. Because if this is what gaming evolves into, and suddenly Google and Amazon are huge players in the game now, alongside Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, Sony's going to have to worry about that. They're going to have no choice. But for now, from where I'm sitting, it really does pretty much seem like Sony is the one who gave gamers like myself what they've been asking for, who've been supporting the hardcore gamer and treating them as a first-class citizen and not making them take a back seat. Is it for our money? Of course it is, but it's a mutual relationship like I've said before. And so this is why I'm just going on this long tangent here, because I think about all these things, and I read what some people have to say to me, how like, you just can't accept the future, man. It's just like, well, you don't know what the future is. You're basing this idea of a cloud/streaming digital only future off of what looks like the direction we're going into, like the path we may be going down. But what I'm basing my feelings off of right now is what I have seen and what I'm seeing happen right now. It's based off of almost 100 million PS4 sold. Not that I need, and here's the thing, I don't need sales to feel okay with playing games. It's not about that. I know that's how a lot of people are going to take this. It's really not about that. What it really just comes down to is it's about what each company is ultimately pursuing and what their end goal is. And it seems to me, from where I'm sitting, Sony is happy with where they are. Would they like to continue growing? Of course. Do they want to continue to get people into their ecosystem? Yes. And if Microsoft's Project X Cloud does take off and suddenly their numbers start inflating through the roof, is Sony going to do something about that? Of course they are. But from where I'm sitting, Microsoft is the one that screwed up. Xbox is the one that screwed up. And rather than trying to go above and beyond to win the hardcore gamer back, they put out a powerful piece of hardware and Game Pass and said, there you go. There you go. And for me, that's just not enough, and it really is disappointing to me at the end of the day, because I just don't want Xbox to keep going in this direction where we're going to start talking more about Xbox as a brand rather than just a console and all this stuff, while simultaneously releasing bad, mediocre games. There's just so many things that are just counterintuitive to what I want, and it just not everything, but most things that Microsoft and Xbox are doing right now are just rubbing me the wrong way. And I understand the mentality. I know that like the biggest argument that people want to give to me is like, why would it bother you, MBG? Why would it bother you if other people get to play games that you love and that you've enjoyed, that you would once call exclusives, and now that like everybody can access them? Because you have to understand that if money, like when you have the understanding that at the end of the day money is what matters most to all companies, including Microsoft, there is a reason, and this is where it all comes back to. There is a reason, there is a fundamental difference and divide between what we would call the hardcore gamer and the casual gamer. And that divide, to me, comes down to one thing: quality. If you're somebody who wants a quality experience and you're willing to pay for that, then that's where you go. You go to PC and you buy powerful rigs and support the AAA games that you think look amazing, and that are going to give you the best, most immersive experience, and you support these developers. You buy these consoles and do the same thing. And if you don't care about that, which, let's be honest here, if you're a casual gamer, most casual gamers just don't care. They just want a short, sweet, fun experience, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less, and they do not want to have to invest a lot of time and money into it, then you go to usually mobile gaming or just something that's super simple, cheap, and easy, you know? And that's just how it is. And so that's why, fundamentally, what Microsoft is doing is this idea that they're gonna expose the big AAA games like Halo and Gears and Forza to this mass audience, and that's suddenly going to translate into getting even higher quality games. Listen, I'll believe it when I see it. Okay, like, I know there's going to be people who say, well, MBG, they're going to be able to do both. They're going to be able to support the hardcore gamer and give the hardcore gamer what they want, while simultaneously trying to bring in this whole new audience of 2 billion gamers. And, like, listen, I'm telling you, like, if the reason why Microsoft wants this to take off, the reason why they want these 2 billion gamers, this 2 billion market, is because they're going after the casual market. And if the casual market actually, you know, supports this, then you can bet that Microsoft's going to just give up. I mean, maybe not give up, but they're really going to kind of back off on really caring that much about the hardcore gamer as they have been. Have they shown support for the hardcore gamer this generation? Yes, they have. I'm not taking that away from them. But it's been a struggle for them. And the fact that they're pursuing these other avenues so heavily as a means to make more money and to sell their games to make more money is proof of this. I mean, listen, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm going to continue to beat this dead horse because to me, it needs to be done. The fact that we've seen over the past year and a half, Microsoft come out here and tout how games like Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2 and now even Crackdown 3 are a success for them rather than a failure, because sales numbers don't matter anymore, because it's just about subscription numbers and the amount of people who just, like, that's what matters to Microsoft. They just want you to give them $10 a month and to pay for Xbox Live. That's all they want. And if they can get away with growing those numbers, growing that subscription, knowing that they can consistently bring people on board while simultaneously not having to pump out super high quality games, you think they're going to continue to dump more and more money into making higher quality games if people seem satisfied, if they're making more than enough money off of these lower quality games? Come on. Like, I mean, this is where people give Microsoft too much damn credit. And I know, I've been there. Now, does that mean that we're never going to get quality? That Halo Infinite isn't going to be quality? That future titles from some of these studios they acquired aren't going to be quality? No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that considering Microsoft's plan is their plan is not to release a AAA game every couple of months. Absolutely not. Their plan is to, as far as I see, their plan is to just continue with their main franchises like Halo, Gears, and Forza. Those will be the AAA games. Everything else will probably be AA or close to AA, and maybe like between AAA and AA. And it's okay if they're not that great because, hey, it's content that's going to raise our subscription numbers. It's content that's just going to make people want to subscribe, right? So, I don't know. Like, I know this is just like turning into an insane rant, and I probably sound like an insane person, but it's just, it's just something I've really been thinking about because people have so much to say to me because of what I like. Everybody thinks like, oh, dude, you just do what you do just for views, just for subscribers. Like, I have a YouTube channel. Yes, I would like to get as many people to view my content as possible, but that doesn't mean I'm just saying things because it's, I think, what other people want to hear. It's genuinely not. And I just need to emphasize that right now because it's not that. What I'm saying right now is genuine. It's genuine because I may sound incredibly stupid to some people, but to me it's just, I'm just speaking my feelings. I'm just speaking how I feel based off of what I see, how I perceive things. Now, could my perception change? Of course it could, just like anybody else's, but from where I'm sitting, I'm just so disappointed and afraid that the road that Xbox is going down is just not the road where I'm on that road. Like, I'm on a completely different one. Like, I want just high quality games, man. I just want good games. Like, that's all it comes down to. And and the only argument I see coming from like diehard Xbox fans is, well, you'll see MBG because this is going to translate to more money and better sales for developers, and what that ultimately means is that they're going to be able to make more better games. Like, that's not what that means. That's not what that means, okay? What you need to understand is what that means is higher profit margins for Microsoft. You think if they can get high profit margins or higher profit margins based off of games like Crackdown 3 and Sea of Thieves, you think that they're going to want to take that money that they're making as profit and put it right back in, like double the amount they're going to put into their next game? No, they're not. Until they see a decline. And that's what it ultimately comes down to, is if this plan that Xbox is going through with actually works, they're never going to see a decline. Or at least the chances of seeing a decline are slim. Very slim. And that's just the whole point of this. They just want numbers. They want numbers. And is there a chance they can achieve numbers without quality? Well, if the market that they're attempting to go after is anything to go by, yes, they can. And that is the problem. I have no idea how many people are still listening to this. There's a good chance the majority of people stopped listening a while ago, which is unfortunate because I feel like this is the most important point I can make here, is that the market Microsoft is trying to go after is what I have a problem with. Because that market's going to dictate, because of just sheer numbers, just sheer volume, how Xbox and Microsoft reacts. We've seen how Xbox reacts when the market that they originally tried to go after with 200 million Xbox One sold. You know, we've seen how Microsoft reacts to that, and you know what it is? Just playing defensive, just playing it safe. You know? And if I were to sit here and say, as a comeback to somebody, you know, like, oh, well, they're putting more money now than ever before in studios and developers to make bigger and better games than ever before. Okay, that's true, and I'm not taking that away. And so if I were to say, well, why didn't they do this before? Why didn't they do this earlier? You know, when games earlier this generation, back in 2014, 15, and 16 were coming out, and some of them just weren't doing that great, and some of them just weren't, you know, high enough quality, why didn't they do it then? So that way, maybe now in 2017, 18, and 19, we wouldn't have this problem that we're in. Oh, well, it's easy to answer, MBG. That's because Microsoft, just as a company, wouldn't give the Xbox division enough money. They were actually cutting funds. Okay, here's my question to you then. Knowing this, what do you think made Microsoft as a company? What do you think gave Phil Spencer that promotion that to be the head of gaming for all of Microsoft? What do you think suddenly made Microsoft change its mind and its tune with the executives up top who are in control of this, the CFO and whatnot, to suddenly say, okay, we're willing to dump all this money into Xbox now? Do you think it's because Phil Spencer went in and pitched, listen, we have a solution. We know how we can dominate the console market, how we can really, truly bring in millions upon millions of hardcore gamers? Absolutely not. That is not the pitch. That is not why Microsoft suddenly changed their tune and said, you know what, we are willing to invest this money now into this division because, you know, we believe in the hardcore gamer. No, it's the literal opposite. It's because this entire vision is based upon, listen, this money you invest in these studios and buying studios and you'll notice, if you notice, almost all of the studios Microsoft bought are small scale studios. It's because they care about quantity over quality. This is proven. Now, does that mean we can't get both? I'm not saying that, but that has yet to be proven. And based off of what we've seen so far, I'm not seeing much quality at all. The only quality I'm seeing is really coming from the studios that Microsoft already owned. and even then it's kind of shaky, right? So that's what Phil Spencer's pitch was. For those who don't know, it's, you know what, we're not worried. We're not worried about trying to win over the market that Sony already dominates, that Sony already won over, because we're thinking bigger. We're thinking bigger. And a lot of people may think, what's wrong with thinking bigger? Because again, if you think about the market they are trying to go after now, the market that is the strongest numbers-wise, it's the casual market. And if there's something Microsoft knows, is that the casual market doesn't really care if Crackdown 3 is garbage. It doesn't care if State of Decay 2 is garbage. It doesn't care if games that are coming out are garbage, because it's just like the Netflix effect, man. It's like for every 10 games that come out, we'll be lucky if one of them is considered good, is considered high quality. And I have a real problem with that, man. Like, I don't want this. I don't want this. This is why I don't understand when people say, well, it'll be great when Xbox is the Netflix of gaming. Like, why? Why? So they can just keep pumping stuff out and throwing stuff against the wall until eventually something sticks? That, like, I don't like that method, man. To me, that's the worst kind of method there is. You need to take time to hone your craft, to think about what truly makes a game go to the next level. I would rather take a single game from Microsoft that releases the entire year, but it just blows me away, man. And it becomes a game that I'll just never forget. And I just don't have faith at all that that's going to happen anytime soon with the direction Microsoft is taking. So if you're wondering why I'm making a video that's pretty much turning into a one-man rant podcast here, it's because the amount of crap I've been taking on my channel recently from people thinking that, oh, you're a fraud, man. You're a fraud. You can call me whatever you want. I don't care. But just know that these are the actual reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing and saying what I'm saying and making the content I'm making, and in my own personal life choosing to play and support a different platform and ecosystem. It's because from where I'm sitting, Sony is the one that appeals to me. PlayStation is making the moves, regardless of what their intent is. I know their intent. They want my money. But here's the thing. They're doing what I want them to. They're doing the things that make me want to give them my money, because they're offering the products I actually care about. And that's what it comes down to, man. Like, I know that people are all about, well, we need to make everyone a gamer. How about no? How about we don't make everyone a gamer? Because when you make everyone a gamer, that's why there's a divide. That's why there needs to be a divide. It's a difference between people who want to invest in gaming and really care about the experience versus those who are just in it for the casual, like, okay, yeah, games are fun to play sometimes. Can both of them exist within the same ecosystem? I don't know, maybe. But I'm not willing to take a chance to find that out, because from what I'm seeing, the chances that are being taken here to find that out, it's coming at the cost of what I want and what I expect, which is higher quality, better games. I don't know if everybody's understanding this or not, and I could be completely flawed in my thinking here, and, you know, maybe Phil Spencer does have some kind of ultimate secret plan where I'm dead wrong, and when they do become the Netflix of gaming, every single game or almost every game that comes out is going to just be on another level of quality. Like, there's a reason why, and this is no offense. Like, I'm really not trying to be offensive to these studios. There's a reason why people, when they hear about studios like Undead Labs and Compulsion Games and In Exile being acquired by Microsoft, why people aren't getting that excited for these studios, because these are smaller, unproven studios that, you know, speaking for Undead Labs, their last game was State of Decay 2. Not really sure how people can feel super excited about that. I mean, people had this idea. Like, they're fooling themselves. They're tricking themselves again. People have this idea that, oh, well, now that Microsoft owns Undead Labs, wait until you see State of Decay 3. It's going to be AAA, amazing, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be next level. No, it's not. Like, no, it's not. If you truly believe that, you are being played like a damn fiddle, okay? You are. I'm not saying it won't be better than State of Decay 2, but make no mistake about it, they plan on having the next State of Decay game out within the next couple of years. They're not going to be spending 6 years making a full-blown AAA GTA-like type experience here. They're not doing that. It's going to be very similar. Now, is that because Microsoft's making them do that? Of course not. But if you think that they haven't had conversations where Microsoft, you heard what Microsoft said, they just want these studios to continue doing what they've been doing. And what most of these studios have been doing is producing smaller content where a lot of times the quality of it is questionable. Not for all of them, but for most of them. You know, We Happy Few. It's another good example of like, you know, I literally made a video a while ago saying like, is this really a good studio for Microsoft to be picking up? I have no idea. Some people loved We Happy Few, but the general consensus is the game had a lot of issues, and it was far from great. So, how do I feel about their next game? Am I supposed to be excited? No. They're going to have to prove something to me. And the chances that they're just going to suddenly turn around and produce something that's on the level of games like Bloodborne and God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, it's not going to happen. It's just not. And I would be blown away if I was wrong. But something tells me I'm not. So, yes, maybe the people who seem to keep wanting to tell me why I'm so wrong and why my way of thinking is so flawed, you might want to take a little bit of time to really think for yourself what you think the future of gaming is and what you want the future of gaming to be. And I say that because it's so important for you as the gamer to decide where your money's going. There's only one language that these companies speak, and that's the language of money. And if you're somebody who's sitting here complaining about the quality of Microsoft's games while paying for Xbox Live, while buying their consoles, while supporting them with Game Pass, and in my case, in the case of many others, making positive YouTube videos saying this is why Xbox is great, and then sitting down and playing these games and being like, well, this kind of sucks. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter what you have to say, because every time you give them your money, that's the only language they speak, man. They're not going to change. They're not going to change again until their numbers dip. And their numbers dipped a while ago when we learned about how the Xbox One was selling, how their games were selling, and they realized immediately that, oh, okay, we are not doing what hardcore gamers want. We are failing the gamers right now, so we need to like double down and try to win them back. And they didn't. They didn't do that. They made the Xbox One X. They brought out Game Pass, and they bought up a couple smaller studios. And, you know, I'm excited to see what the initiative's creating, but still, like, we'll have to see. You know, we'll have to see. This is why I don't blame people for thinking that Microsoft's intentions here are not, like, when you see Xbox fans go on the defensive here for Microsoft, and it's like, hey, don't you understand? They just want everybody to be a gamer. They just want to bring as many people in the ecosystem so we can all enjoy games. Like, please get your head out of your ass and understand that this is for money. Okay? They want money. Sony wants that too. Nintendo wants that too. Every company wants money. But this idea that they're speaking to the gamer and this is some kind of mutual thing, like, it's not about that, okay? Like, if you think for a second that, you know, Phil Spencer walked in to Satya Nadella's office and Amy Hood, the CFO of Microsoft, and said, you know what? You give us more money, we will make games like God of War. If you think that's what he said and they're like, okay, here you go. No, that is not how that works. That's not, Microsoft doesn't take risks like that. Believe me, if you're somebody who's followed Microsoft long enough, you know they do not take risks like that. They do take risks, but not like that. Not like that. And you know, we're talking about the same company here who they have no problem screwing over the consumer, because you need to understand, and this is the last thing I'm going to say here, and I'm just going to end this video because this is absolutely an insane video, and I'm contemplating either whether or not I should release it. The The last thing I'm going to say here is that Microsoft is an enterprise company, okay? And Xbox is the only division really under Microsoft that is still consumer facing. And you have to understand that people always talk about, well, this is how much Microsoft is worth. They're one of the richest companies in the world, and this is how much money, and this and that. Like, first of all, I have no idea why that is even relevant to you in your life. I really don't. But you need to understand how these companies that are worth billions, hundreds of billions of dollars work, okay? They're not in it just for, the idea of making enough money or just, oh, this is good enough. No. They are in it for indefinite growth and numbers that just keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And they will achieve that by any means necessary, because if they do not, things get cut. Things go to the chopping block. Okay? That's how these companies work. So I don't blame Phil Spencer per se for doing what he's doing, because it's his job. It's his job as a leader to, how do we save Xbox? Well, if the only way you can truly save it is by turning it into a service and trying to capture a casual market of 2 billion gamers, well, then go for it. That's your job. That's not mine. So, and we just have to understand that I'm not saying Sony doesn't want these same things, but from where I'm sitting, Sony seems pretty happy about the idea of selling almost 100 million PS4s. Sony seems pretty content. I don't want to say content, but they seem pretty positive. They feel good about how many units of Spider-Man they've sold, about how many units of God of War they sold. And they know that, God of War may not have multiplayer, and it may not have microtransactions, and it may not make us money indefinitely, but it's good enough. And we want to continue that. Because there's money to be made here, and there's gamers who love this, and they care about that, and they're going to continue to do that. And they're not worried about capturing a market of 2 billion gamers. They're worried about, how do we keep the gamers we have here that we've won over the past 20 years or 20 plus years. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a long time. It's been way more than that, actually, since the PlayStation 1. How do we keep them coming back? How do we keep winning them over? And then how do we get them to go tell their friends about us? You know how you do that? Make a game like God of War. That'll get people talking. Make a game like Spider-Man. That'll get people talking. That'll get people going out there telling their friends, yo, you gotta play this game. You gotta get a PlayStation. You gotta play this game, man. That's how you do it. But Microsoft doesn't want to pursue that. Microsoft just simply wants to make it so you can open an app, access Game Pass, and play games like, Crackdown 3 and State of Decay 2 and Sea of Thieves and other stuff they're going to do. And hey, I'm not saying I'm never going to play an Xbox game again. When they show me a game that I'm excited to play, I'll be there playing it. But I'm just not expecting them from this point forward to be able to make me feel like they're giving me the true experience that I've been yearning for as a gamer. Especially not when I'm already getting that experience. If they can, hey, I will be the first one here being like, you know what, guys? Holy crap. They did it. But until that day comes, I'll just be making weird-ass rant videos like this that are like almost an hour long. So that's going to do it for the video. You let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I have no idea what the response to this video is going to be like. I guess I'll ask at this point, do you guys like longer videos like this? I really don't know. Nor am I saying I could consistently make videos this long. I'm just genuinely curious. Like, do you see this video and think, oh my god, this is almost an hour long. Is this guy out of his mind? Or do you think, oh wow, I'm excited to hear this. This is an hour long. I'm assuming for those who answer that question, that's assuming you stayed this long. I think it's safe to say you probably like longer videos. Alright, let me know your thoughts down below. Subscribe, like the video, share it, all that good stuff. Until next time, guys, take care.